Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jared. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. We are live on YouTube and Twitch. You can always watch the playback either place, so don't feel bad if you miss us. Just a moment here to share the show. And I was talking to my wife this morning beforehand, and I think TikTok's going away here in the next 24 to 48 hours. So, for those uninitiated, those that aren't aware, I think Tik Donald Trump's going to let TikTok die. What this means is that we are losing the most efficient form of delivery for my content. Um, the second most efficient form of delivery for my content is Hootsuite. So don't worry, this isn't me saying that I'm going to start using all of the social media websites that I said not to. It just means that I'll have to post a show link through Hootsuite on those apps because that would be the next most perfect form of delivery for my content. Um, I would ask you if you're still using those places, your Facebook, Threads, IG, WhatsApp, Messenger, Twitter, any social media website, and you're still using them, that you get connected with me, that you'll like, comment, and share on that stuff. Because, like I said, with TikTok going away, we're losing the most efficient delivery system in terms of my content. Stacy said, "Sorry, what? It looks like TikTok's going away in the next like 48 hours. Apparently, like Donald Trump's gonna let it die or some shit." Um, so what I'm saying here is like without TikTok, we'll have to find a more efficient delivery of getting the word out about the show, which means sharing a show link on Facebook, Threads, IG, Twitter. So there is a app that you could put on your phone called Hootsuite. At least this is what I'm aware of. Um, there's an app called Hootsuite that you could make one post and it posts on all those places you don't want to be on. Um, yeah. Um, and understand that what comes with a more efficient an attempt at a more at an also efficient delivery system, because again, if TikTok was going to remain unchanged, not only is it a bad product, but we're not long for that world anyway. We're one community guideline violation away from an account ban, I think. I've gotten three or four in the last week. And I was talking with my wife this morning about this, and I wanted to get it out early in the show. Um, I think the call to unalive Charlie Kirk came from like Putin, BB. Oh, sure. Hootsuite. So what you can do is you can use Hootsuite, log in with all these apps that you don't really want to use them. You just want to make a single post and it goes on all those places. Um, and what I'll do, like share the show, post it in Hootsuite. Hey, join me here, right? Yeah. So Donald Trump wants to get rid of TikTok because it's a really good way for people to record crime and post crime. And the only way Donald Trump's going to get what he wants is commit more crime. And his biggest form, yeah, you're welcome. I had it in the back of my mind where I'm like, should not that we need to grow, but should we lose you know, Twitch or YouTube or TikTok or Skylight? Should one of these like go away? We're gonna need to start to seek and it's not because of I want money. It's more about safety and security. Honestly, if you really just want to be real about it. Yeah, somebody said you're gonna have to binge all your TikTok today. Yeah, a lot of the content creators that have been banned already from the site. Um, a lot of prominent left-leaning content creators. But anyway, so I was talking to my wife about this, and I said, all you know, she was kind of she said she had a conversation with her mom, and like, long story short, just talking about Charlie Kirk. And I said, Charlie Kirk died because he held all of the wrong opinions. Uh, think of him like Sonic the Hedgehog. Uh, if there was a dumbass opinion about a topic, he had a dumbass opinion about a topic. Um, and somebody popped him like you would Sonic and took all his rings. Um, and the thing about it is two things that came out of Charlie Kirk's mouth are why he died. And what's unfortunate about it is that he said a lot of heinous shit before he started questioning what was going on in Israel. He said a lot of heinous shit. He said a lot of heinous shit before he started calling for the release of the Epstein list. And as someone who has um, been targeted by this regime and its peoples on social media forever, um, yeah, I mean, the whole time, the whole time I've been arguing with these motherfuckers the whole time. Um, it's not hard to get a rival, a fan of a rival to unalive. So the thing about Tyler doing that to Charlie um, is that the money, the desire to do this, yeah, yeah. And so what I was having a conversation with my wife, and we realized, or I realized, oh, his wife knew this was coming. She was former Miss USA in Arizona, and her side by side, that her and Donald Trump look like they've known each other for a long time, and this was part of the plan. The, Charlie Kirk wasn't supposed to die, but there's the plan was in place that if something happens, I'll take you under my wing. We'll make her the the Miss Aya, uh, right? Anyway, um, I think that he was supposed to get shot in the vest. Because like I said, if you're a professional, you aim here, right? Okay. If you're if you're trying to kill him, if you're trying to hit him in the vest, here's dead center, right? And he got shot here. Do you see how they missed either way they were aiming? That was a miss. Now, for you and I and all the people that he hurt and here's the thing about stochastic terrorism is that untold numbers of people on that killed themselves because of him. So to say that his words are not that his words don't have weight, to say that your words don't have weight is crazy. Uh, Marcus Aurelius, the things we do in this life echo for an eternity, right? My my spouse was asking for my purpose today. Like, why are we here, right? And I made sure to iterate to another human being, I'm here because if I wasn't doing this show and I look back on this time and I didn't do anything, what would you say? And what is the least that I should be doing at this time going through it? Well, I think it's important to keep a handle on what's actually happening in the world. Because what this regime and the media that they've bought, what it puts out is clearly garbage. It's not results oriented, it's not grounded in reality, and it certainly isn't for all of us. But I was going to sit here, I was going to be looking at the news either way, and I met a bunch of like minded people, and now here we are. Um, 10 months. Um, I'm thankful to be with you all, to have built a community. Here we are, 17 deep on a Monday morning. Um, San Juan County. Homes destroyed as multiple tornadoes touch down in San Juan County in Utah. Hey, I've had a lot of conversations with people that say that are big time content creators that are like, you motivate the fuck out of me. So, like, you show up every fucking day, no matter what's going on, talking about what's actually going on. All right, so to the surprise of no one, Conor McGregor has withdrawn his bid to run in the upcoming presidential election. Okay, shout out if you saw that coming. Okay, how deep can we go on hashtags? Free Palestine, Slava Ukraine. I'm just kidding. It has to stop somewhere. All right, so Conor McGregor would be a great Trump replacement. Oh man. I guess it would be like, we're going from a draft dodger to a bare knuckle boxer. You know what I mean? Didn't even know he was running. Let me not give ideas to MAGA. Yeah, no, no. I'm actually glad he decided not to do that. Uh huh. Morning, Crush. So as Marco Rubio arrives, Israel's bombing the shit out of Gaza. Marco Rubio's Marco Rubio's gonna get shell shock. By the way, Donald Trump has turned a corner on Russia and called them the aggressor in Ukraine. Okay. Donald Trump also said he you see Chris Pratt running for office one day. Isn't Chris Pratt Republican though? The Kremlin says the NATO's at war with Russia. So one of the things we got to watch is rhetoric. Okay. Scorched by other well-seasoned leaders. Yeah, right. Jesus Christ. Uh, this article is written for this audience. Okay. There's a reason we get 8 hours of sleep and we eat right and we exercise. Yeah, Chris Pratt, the actor. Um, Cannabis use is associated with a quadrupled risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Um, so, hey, you got to be active. You got to watch what you eat. Ukraine has destroyed a $40 million Russian Buk air defense system. Morning, Miss Danielle. Floop. That's a key Russian radar station. It's important. Remember, we talked about how what that little girl did in Georgia as a publicity stunt for her to run for public office got a nearly $20 billion investment by Hyundai into the United States withdrawn and cost almost 2,000 people their jobs. Those American manufacturing jobs, yeah, it cost jobs. Those South Koreans that were here were all on work visas. The people they were actually after, there were four people in the facility that were otherwise legal immigrants, not South Korean visa holders. And because of that little girl's phone call, they ended up taking all them people into custody and traumatizing the fuck out of them. And Hyundai withdrew their investment. Hmm. Yep. LG Energy Workers, Hyundai. They secured the release of all those people. Hmm. Russia is using priests and bots to influence elections. So here's Moldovan President Maya Sandu has stated that Russia has expanded its interference into the country's parliamentary election. Sorry, I originally read that as paramilitary. Um, country's parliamentary elections scheduled for the 28th of September, targeting voters living abroad. Sandu, who relied on the diaspora to win a second term last year and secure support for the country's accession to the access to the European Union. So remember, Russia does not want a strong EU because it excludes Russia. The EU does. And it wars with the EU. And by the way, here's the article that you needed to see that tells you exactly why it's troubling that Donald Trump sent people and kidnapped and trafficked people to El Salvador. Why? Because El Salvador is facing the fastest decline, the fastest democratic decline in Latin America. So, of all the Latin American countries, El Salvador, where CICA is among the least democratic. Cuffs in the sun, and they were hot and play some damn. Let's see if we can figure it out. Remember that there are consequences for your actions, right? Brian Kilmeade from Fox News is apologizing for saying mentally ill homeless people should be executed. Remember that the state used to have mental hospitals, and they used to house and feed and treat people with mental illness, and the state defunded that. That we It's kind of crazy. Is capitalism created this problem, and capitalism is preventing it from being solved. Yeah, yeah. Lula pushes back against tariffs. So Lula is Brazil's president, arguing that it was political and illogical. Said democracy and sovereignty are not on the table. Let's go. Love to see it. I love to people seeing people stand up to Donald Trump. Stand up to bullies. Oh, this was that story yesterday. I was telling my wife about. There's this. They had to take staff members at an animal shelter to the hospital after the FBI used an incinerator at the facility to burn 2 pounds of seized methamphetamine. For the record, that's a lot of meth. And why the fuck would you go to an animal hospital to use their incinerator? Why? Why is that even? Why did they even know that existed? And so keep this in mind. Donald Trump wants the US to be more like Russia because of Donald Trump's influence, because of Putin's influence. One out of every five Russian property developers are on the verge of bankruptcy. And so what this means is home building projects do not get completed because there's not enough money, there's not enough labor because you're in a war, and the cost of goods are too high. There's a reason you can't do it this way. There's a reason that, among Russia being the world's provocateur, 100,000 people joined the protests. Yo, that's wild. From PBS, there was a pro Palestine protest. It forced an early end to the Spanish Vuelta. 100,000 people took part in the latest pro-Palestine protests that interrupted the final stage of the Spanish Vuelta, forced organizers to cut short the Grand Tour event on Sunday, capping a campaign of disruptions. The central government's representative for the Madrid region said that authorities estimated more than 100,000 people joined Sunday's protest. 2 people arrested. Clashes between police and protesters. Nice. Remember, protest, boycott, and strike, right? And recently was asked, why are people protesting? What 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 good will protesting accomplish? First things first, one of the things that we have seen regularly, especially in the last 10 months, are politicians being bent to the will of the people. So, for anyone out there that is like, there's no point in protesting, I would just like to point to all of the democratically elected people in the United States who have changed their positions as a result of protests just within the last 10 months. I could name them. There are plenty. You don't have to even look that hard, but to ask, what is the point of protest? What what good is it? There's the first thing, right? There's the first thing I would point to. Are the myriad of policy position changes and vote changes that have resulted in a change. Hmm. Yeah, and recently. And what protest also does is it tends to energize a base to vote, and Democrats have won something like 90, 87 to 90% of all the special elections that have occurred that tend to happen. So Democrats are like wildly overperforming in all those elections. That's why you protest. Is it brings awareness to something, and um, one of the things that I've also heard is, why should I protest if it doesn't directly affect me? And the way I would explain it is that there is, in economics, there's what's called lead and lag. And this means that if a decision is looming, if something's going to happen, the Fed's going to reduce rates or whatever, there will be economic factors start to change leading up to a decision. And then after a decision is made, like, an interest rate change, there will be changes that come to the data after that. So that, and sometimes the spike, the big change doesn't happen for a while on the front or back end of an economic decision. And so, for example, a bunch of people lost their food stamps July 1st. So, leading up to July 1st, what do we kind of see? The cost of foods start to go up. Why? Because less people will be able to buy it. What have we seen in the last like 10 months? Businesses literally destroying food rather than giving it away. hmm And then, and that's capitalism. It devalues something when you also give it away. hmm Okay. Now, you probably won't see people have a big problem in terms of food stamps for a while. I'm guessing around now ish. Why do I say that? Because there will be lead data leading up to October 1st. On October 1st, the first wave of Medicaid cuts also happens. So, July 1st, a bunch of people lost their food stamps. There will be some lag time. July, July, that's one of my favorite months. July, 4th of July is my favorite holiday, and my goddamn birthday's in July. Okay? July tends to be a good goddamn month for me. Okay? But what will happen is the amount of people that are struggle bussing is going to skyrocket a little bit after that. Now, on October 1st, the new healthcare plans come out that go into effect on January 1st. And what's going to happen is a whole bunch of people are getting letters in the mail, about right now, that say, hey, come January 1st, you're no longer eligible for Medicaid. And all of those people that have Medicare and Medicaid that are on dual special needs Medicare Advantage prescription drug plans, which is what I sold for 5 years, those plans typically also give you money for groceries and bills. And there are people now in in about a 6 month window that are going to lose their food stamps and lose their really good health care. Because, oh, by the way, not only do those dual special needs plans typically give you a card that gives you money for stuff like groceries and bills, your medicine is also free. Your doctor's visits don't cost anything. You don't have to pay for the premium either. There's no deductible. They'll even give you thousands of dollars a year for dental, vision, and hearing. So what ends up happening is from October 15th through December 7th of every year, people are going to be signing up for their new healthcare plans. So not only will they have lost food stamps, but now they're going to lose that little, you know, I don't know, $200-300 a month card. And then come, Thanksgiving, Christmas, going to be rough. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be trying to take home all the leftovers at Thanksgiving and Christmas because they don't have the money for food. And then come January 1st, when their health care goes into effect, a whole bunch of people are going to die right away in the first couple weeks of January because their medicine, their life-saving medicine that costs nothing, now costs money they don't have. So when you ask, why are we protesting? Because lots of people are going to die if we don't bring awareness to the fact that this country is trying to exterminate the poor. It's trying to kill the poor, the elderly, the sick, your tired, huddled masses, the immigrant. And like I said, there's some lead and lag time here because the regime in power also bought control of the media. Yeah. So just know that the reason to protest is to make other people aware This doesn't affect me at all. I don't work in healthcare anymore, so that's not my day job. And I'm not connected to any elderly or poor people. But what I would explain is that if you have someone in your life that's elderly and poor and disabled that's able to live on their own, just remember, just remember when they come to you and they are destitute and they don't have anywhere to go and they can't support themselves anymore and they have to live with you. Remember that I said that's why you protest. And Kara said, what are they going to do with all the people in the nursing homes? Didn't you see The Walking Dead when the two boys that were when the two boys that were janitors at a nursing home stayed behind and they played the nurses and they were giving everybody their meds and they were keeping everyone entertained and they were feeding everyone and they locked themselves in the cafeteria and they were like defending it and shit and do you guys remember that? I don't know if you remember Walking Dead. My wife and I were watching Walking Dead. We were dating when wait, we were dating when Walking Dead was like live. Right. There's a reason Donald Trump put fencing around the White House. It's not for the protests today. Yeah, I love The Walking Dead. So my question is, now that I'm in a room full of people that also know what I'm talking about in terms of Walking Dead, when does it become a different show? And it's no longer like The Walking Dead. When is an acceptable spot to be like, this is The Walking Dead? And say, from here on, it's The Walking Dead 2. Jesus. My husband's grandmother, she just found out she has colon cancer, still supports Trump, probably going to lose her Medicaid. Kat said, I work in healthcare, get paid through Medicare to help the elderly, also on state healthcare and food since my divorce. I'll lose everything. Yep. And that is free will right there. And that's one of the great things about being a human being is that you can see somebody else making a very obviously wrong-headed decision and decide that's not how I'm going to die on this playthrough. You're allowed to look at a situation, see what somebody else's line of decision making is, and go, I don't think that's for me. I don't think that's what I want to do. Yeah, we are being hyperbolic. So now, okay, tens of thousands of people are calling for the Turkish president to resign. The Polish foreign minister has urged allies to consider intercepting Russian drones over Ukraine. So in the same show where hey, I mean if the alarm bells aren't going off in your head, World War III is doorstepish. It has said the UN and Russia are at war. The Polish Prime Minister has asked EU allies to intercept drones in Ukraine. Okay, yeah. Remember that Elon Musk is a fucking piece of shit traitor, as Starlink's down across the entire front line in Ukraine. And I want to point out, remember that one of the things that we saw in the wake of the election was the building of um, a Starlink competitor in Europe. Gabby said I got family in Romania. Drones went over there too. Yeah, and obviously, Kat, I'm so sorry. I hope knowing that we're making plans. If you need a higher paying job, I'll try to help anyone try to get a job where I work, do what I do. It's easy money. Um, it's the easiest job I've ever had in my life, making the most money I've ever been paid in my life, doing a good fucking thing. By the way, I will be working. Hey, the blackout the system. We haven't. Okay. Yeah, go to Beyond Finance. So this is the company I work for. And understand, if you want to enroll in the service that we provide, I want you to enroll with me. I want your business. I want to help you with your finances. Okay? But yeah, who's blackout the system? Okay? No racism, no fascism. So there's a reason we're here every day. Okay? Hey, here we go. Here's an article from Reuters. Canada has announced a new federal agency to build affordable housing. Here's a 9.39 billion. What's a Canadian dollar called? Russia's losing momentum in Sumi. Questions about employment there. Okay. Boris Johnson calls for European troops on Ukrainian soil, tells Russia to bog off. Yo! The company I work for has an A plus rating at the Better Business Bureau and an excellent rating on Trustpilot. The program that I sell has an 88% success rate, And when you look at the dropout rate, which is the percentage of people that I work with that disenroll from the program after they enroll, it's 13%. So about 87% of the people that I sign up keep it, and it has a high success rate. That success rate out of 100 is missing about the percentage of people that cancel the service. So effectively, the only way that you won't have success with my program is if you quit. And that right there is a lock. That is a lock job because I've worked at places that did not have an A plus rating with the Better Business Bureau, were not highly rated on Trustpilot, were not able to boast a high success rate with their program, and also look at other data that says, well, what percentage of people just straight up fucking disenroll from the program? Oh, about the same that don't succeed. So the only way you won't succeed is if you disenroll. hmm Perfect. Is that like swamp off? Yeah, bog off. Yeah. Russian drone incursion into Poland was Kremlin's test in NATO. So understand, I mean, the information is out in front of you, right? Bog's also a bathroom. So that's like telling somebody to piss off. Bog off, says Boris Johnson. Things are going to get very. Japan today. Japan is closing education and centers in Russia. I just got a. I have internet security. So for the record, ESET works. If any of you ever wondered how do you protect yourself, I have this ESET internet security. It just intercepted a malicious attack on my system. Hmm? The UK is barring Israelis from the Royal College of Defense Studies. Look at this. This is pretty awesome. There's a lot. I know things are rough here, but things are evolving in my eyes very quickly. Russia's isolating themselves. The thing about the thing about this is that what Donald Trump has allowed for is the facilitation of action between people like Bibi Putin, Orban, like all the bad guys are buddies and they're working together, right? And remember that that Donald Trump is a turncoat ass motherfucker, and he'll turn on Putin too. Remember the "Here we go" thing? Do you remember that? To me, that has alarm bells attached. As soon as he was like able, oh, here we go. Here's Russia getting what they deserve. That's what that was. 100%. Yep. Check out this. Howard Lutnick was asked whether the U.S. is mismanaging very valuable relationships with important allies like India, Canada, and Brazil. India brags about having 1 billion people won't even buy a small amount of American coin. Yeah, yeah. I bought ESET at Micro Center when I bought my computer. I went and looked up ESET, and they were like, "It's the tits," and I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, I'll take that on my computer." And it literally just said, "You just intercepted an attack on your system." It's the first time I've ever seen it. All right, so the Polish foreign minister is also urging the West to establish a no-fly zone over Ukraine following drone incursions. So see, everything is like a process, right? It feels, in my eyes, very process oriented. Listen to this shit. More than 10,000 IDF soldiers have been treated for mental health issues since October 7th. 35% have PTSD and 20% are suffering both mentally and physically. IDF soldiers having a very "are we the baddies" experience. Hey, you know why we're not all dead? Because the people that are the bad guys are fucking stupid. In this playthrough, the guys that are like evil are dumb as fuck. Here's from the Kiev Post. Russia reportedly tries to purchase its air defense systems back from a NATO member, and the subheadline says Moscow appears to be in short supply of its own domestically supplied S-400s and is reportedly considered buying back two S-400 systems it sold to Turkey. So, so by the way, because they're dumb as fuck, they are misappropriating gear, and yeah, yeah, dumbest shit ever. Way to go, Nepal's Gen Z. It was interesting. On yesterday, uh, Michael McCaul of Texas, one of the GOP's most prominent foreign affairs hawks, announced on Sunday that he'll retire, while warning that with Russia's escalation of its invasion of Ukraine, we've got to be very careful not to be on the precipice of World War III. This is him getting out of the fucking way. 100%. And here's Gabby said, I just saw that people are coming for Cash Patel. They want him gone. I feel it happens with this administration, yet they will have their jobs. His point, I just want to see all women leadership world. These guys suck balls. Yeah. Yeah, Angie and Nepal, that they overthrew the government. Yeah. They're vaccinating people for Ebola in the Congo. An outbreak of the highly contagious disease was announced this month in Bulap in Kasai and has left 16 dead and 68 suspected cases. And you say, Jared, why are we talking about Ebola? Well, COVID fucking destroyed us, killed like a million people. And COVID was being compared to the flu, okay? And the way you compare them is to compare their confirmed fatality rate, CFR. So understand that the CFR of the flu is 0.015%. So that means you move the 2 to the left. And so it's 0.00015. That's how many out of 100 will die of the flu. Less than 1. Much less than 1. Okay? 15 100ths of a percent. Okay? The CFR of the Ebola virus, this particular strain, is 23.5%. So do you see how yeah, thank you, Angie. I was hoping somebody would be like, "Damn." Yeah. Ebola would ravage the United States. Uh-huh. Yeah. It has a super high CFR. Hmm. Now, interestingly, the alleged Charlie Kirk killer is not cooperating. Now, it appears to me like Spencer Cox is admitting that they're having a problem coercing the shooter into admitting that he is a leftist and he's been radicalized and indoctrinated by left leaning ideology, which is inherently violent. And I just want to continue to point out that the data says that 84% of political violence is committed by Republicans. And for those of you that are incapable of understanding mathematics, this means that if there are six political acts of violence, five of those will be done by a Republican, and one of those will be done by somebody that's left leaning. Hmm. And it don't take much to be left of a hard R, right? So from my perspective, they're trying to get the kid to say he's not a Groiper and not a Fuentes fan. And yeah, they're they're trying to say that he was living with a trans person and that trans person radicalized them. It as someone who's I have a few best friends, a few people that I'm really close to that I talk to regularly that are like-minded and like-aged individuals that are friends. One of them is trans. Okay, and they were radical before they were trans, and they're fallible, just like they were before they were trans. Most people were radicalized a long time ago. Hmm. See, I think this is what's wrong with this country right here. I don't think this should happen. A Bay Area family got a $5,000 bill for sitting in an ER waiting room. They got a bill for $5,000 after a triage nurse gave him Benadryl and it worked, and they were going to leave. You got a $5,000 bill for that. I don't think you should be getting a bill when you go to the doctor. I think that we should all have universal health care, and the health care that you have should always work. They should always be trying to cure you where able, instead of trying to hook you on a drug that is merely a treatment when there's a cure available. Mm. Um, Jesus Christ. Roblox and Discord are sued after a 15-year-old boy was allegedly groomed online before he died by suicide. Ethan Dallas was targeted by an adult sexual predator on Roblox when he was 12. 15-year-old California boy took his own life. Yeah. Now, I gotta say, as somebody who I've been healthy, I've never had a bad experience in healthcare. But especially if you're a black person, your experience in healthcare is going to be different, especially if you're a black woman. The data suggests that specifically black women's pain thresholds are not like heard and taken as serious as a white woman's same pain thresholds. And it's all about racism. You know, that's one of the big problems with for-profit healthcare is that all of the things that are very harmful in society are also very harmful in healthcare. Sexism, racism, transphobia, homophobia, bigotry, still pervasive in healthcare. Hmm. And part of the failure of healthcare is a failure to equally treat all patients. Hmm. And what I wanted to point out when we were talking about Brian Kilmeade earlier, talking about killing all the homeless people. That's just what those people, that's what they dream about. They dream about a world where they see no evidence of their crime, where there aren't homeless people, there aren't poor people, and there aren't black people, people of color, and the LGBTQI plus. They don't want to be confused about who other people are. They don't want to have questions that they don't have answers to. The world would be very boring. The world would be very boring and unexciting if you weren't meeting someone that had a funny accent and learning about where they're from and the food they like where they're from and what their sense of humor is like and the stuff that they love about American culture. Because that's a big thing about meeting people from all over the world that speak English is that they love our culture and we fucking hate them. And they just like our music and our movies and our sports. Like you know, it's always crazy to me. I run into people that aren't from here that like fell in love with this place from outside it and decided to move here because they love it. And we hate those people. We treat them horribly. They don't receive equal treatment under the law, equal health care, equal rights. They don't get that. Especially if their skin's a different color. Yeah. Russia is firing hypersonic missiles and bombers during its drills in the Barents Sea. There's an anti immigrant protest, 110,000 people, right? One of the largest right wing demonstrations of modern times. Millions and millions of people protest for equal rights, and 100,000 people showed up. Zeke said Brian shouldn't be allowed to enjoy a restaurant sitting ever again, right? All right. Reps say they have the votes. Thomas Massey, Ro Khanna are voicing optimism. They say they have the votes to have the Epstein files released. We're going to get a resounding vote on this. Hey, the thing about this is the releasing of the Epstein files, despite Donald Trump controlling the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, is very telling. I've said since the beginning of Donald Trump's presidency that the president himself is weak and powerless. He doesn't actually doesn't actually have the power. And for the record, so far democracy's held up. There have been a handful of wins here and there, but I want to continue to point out that motherfucker has done nothing but lose since he got into office, and he's not going to keep these Epstein files from getting out. They already got like 18,000 emails. All that stuff's already been out. Like, he's all the fuck over this shit. It's coming out. Eventually, it's coming out. I'm not worried about it. I used to think, I used to think maybe, but now I know for sure. Like, I don't want Izzy to have leverage over us anymore in the survivors. Yeah, I don't want Israel or Russia to have leverage over us anymore. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, but he's yeah. They said 300 million people uh, would have died of 300 million people died of drugs last year, and there's only 344 million people in the United States. It's fucking absurd to be like, what? Where? Like worldwide, 300 million people died because okay, imagine not having to be beholden to these motherfuckers. Yeah, I mean, I think when Donald Trump dies, um, things are gonna change quickly. Donald Trump um, is being supported by the world's best healthcare system. First time I've heard this guy's voice in a while, and he says trans people are more dangerous than Al Qaeda. And I want to continue to point out that Donald Trump Jr. was used by Donald J. Trump. His own father used him to woo young girls to come around them. And then they got around Donald Trump Jr. and they were like, fuck this guy. And they end up getting, not literally, and they end up getting raped by his daddy. So remember that I told you Donald Trump used his own kids. Florida's Cubans, who I'm willing to bet voted for him. Oh, his mental faculties, yeah. They think it's a free for all, no checks, balances, get all away with it all, no repercussions. It doesn't feel like that to me. It feels like to me, Donald Trump said smart people don't like me. No shit, Don. How telling. How telling is it when he knows if you're smart, you don't fuck with me? DHS says filming, posting videos of ICE agents is doxing and vows prosecutions. Recording on duty law enforcement agents is protected by the First Amendment. Bob said, what? YouTube won't let him chat? Yeah, I was wondering where he was. I don't know. I don't recall. Let me see if I can scroll up to where Bob was talking. Did Bob say hi this morning? Here he is. I made Bob a mod. So have him get out and get back in. But yeah, just know that DHS saying it's illegal to record them. Your First Amendment rights allows you to record on duty law enforcement officers. Say it with me. My First Amendment rights allow me to record on duty law enforcement officers. It doesn't matter. Remember, the federal law supersedes state law. hmm So even if there's a local law that says you can't record law enforcement, that's not applicable. It over the First Amendment overrides anything else. Remember the Constitution over everything. hmm Yeah, I had to give. Well, I should mod other people, right? People that are like here every day. So I even gave you special privileges, which means I definitely didn't block you, right? All right, Kathy Hochul. I don't know how you say her name. She's the New York governor. Has formally endorsed Zohran Mamdani. Okay. Now the only problem is that it took too long. And think about it having a disagreement with Zohran Mamdani. What about I want everyone to have health care and I want to keep it affordable? Make everybody a moderator. Long Hochul. Yes. Yes. I told you this leopard eats face party dines on leopard face. Ahem, let me read this headline to you. GOP staff on Capitol Hill hated Stephen Miller so much that they spread rumors he likes playing with dolls. Trump gossips about Miller behind his back, and the staff called the top official President Miller. The real Attorney General and President Miller. He just looks dumb. Abject failure. Everything. Illegal immigration on its own is a civil offense and not a criminal one. Mhm. Eventually, I'll get around to giving everybody. YouTube chat had you locked up. What'd you do? All right. Major probe of the left over the Charlie Kirk assassination. Yeah, and remember, I didn't see the flags lowered at churches and schools near my house when two elected officials in Minnesota were gunned down in their homes. Remember Mark and Melissa Hortman? Remember how Donald Trump didn't lower the flags for them? He doesn't even know who those people are. Yes. This hair. What's going on here? Jeez. He's got a resting biscuit, but yeah. And remember, this administration's immigration policy is brown people are suspect. And that extends beyond Latino people. The experts fired by Donald Trump revive popular climate website, climate.gov. Yeah, Zeke, I would love to not share this show on Facebook, Threads, IG, and Twitter. But TikTok was such a good vehicle for my content to be seen by a bunch of people and not have to post it on these other places that it was an easy replacement for me. That appears to be changing, and we have to seek a wider audience eventually. Um, I was just trying to be safe because I am married, right? I don't want my wife to feel unsafe, right? But if you guys would join Blue Sky, and it just takes us. I don't need a bigger team. If you guys like and share the show announcement in the morning, this one that I put out every morning that I take a couple minutes during the show to put out. If you just takes 2 seconds to do, the show will grow and it'll be Blue Sky users. The show will grow. Um, yeah, here's Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, right? That's who he is? Yeah. Saying Donald Trump picks and chooses. He cherry picks um, which political violence he supports and doesn't. Yeah. But whatever happened to vote blue no matter who, right? Another creator I follow uses or shows up on Pong when I go live. I don't even know what that is. Yeah. I'm only going to use sites that aren't moderating my content. So there's a reason I stopped posting original content on TikTok. Make it on YouTube, post it on YouTube as just a fuck you to TikTok. Mhm. Yep. Blue Sky is if all the reasonable people were on a social media website. It's nothing for me. It's nothing like Facebook. It's nothing like Threads or IG or Twitter. It's perfect. It's going to be just fine. It perfectly replaces Twitter for me. If you're not on Blue Sky, um, I think there's a higher likelihood you lean right and you'll just use Twitter. hmm I've never heard of Pong either. Mark Kelly talks about Gabby Gifford's shooting. Yeah, I like Blue Sky. There is, Gab. So there is a TikTok replacement in the works, but here's the beef. Skylight, the the TikTok clone that was built on AP protocol, you can only upload 3 minute long clips. You can't go live. You can't upload. It wants you to create, and it's trying to get you to cut everything. Too much going into creating content. Not enough just grab this, post this, give it a title, put some, you know what I mean? There's none of that. Hmm. So Skylight's still in the works, okay? It'll end up completely replacing TikTok, but it needs to be more robust. It needs to be more powerful. I need to be able to upload 6, 9 minute content, right? Because that's where I am. Hmm. And there's also Neptune, which is we'll we'll go to those platforms. We'll use those platforms. Hmm. Last few minutes of the show, we didn't listen to we didn't listen to War today. We should have. Yeah, there's a reason they're letting TikTok die is because you can't. The internet is undefeated. That's why. There's a reason that Elon Musk bought Twitter. There's a reason uh, Facebook hired a bunch of former IDF to run its website. There's a reason IDF, pro Israel content manages TikTok. There's a reason that, we found out that there's a former IDF in the ICC. So if you ever wonder why shit's slow moving, right there. But yeah, how about a little war, a little bit of eat the rich. But yeah, I almost took pictures when I was out driving the other day of all of the flags at half mast in Lawrence, in Indianapolis, on the east side. I'd say Charlie Kirk's death is as American as it gets. That is exactly American. And to say it's anything other than it's us on us crime, that would be a lie. Still having issues with chatting. Wild. Yeah, I'm pretty shitty. I again try not to be a shit stirrer. But I was like, why are flags at half mast? Like, he, remember, I maintain that this was a CEO killing and a school shooting and not political violence. Remember this. Typically, when it's political violence, the people perpetrating the violence, so that means the shooter, has some political end, has some political goal. What was his political goal? Didn't have one. This was a CEO killing and a school shooting wrapped into one. Hmm. And a ritual killing in a line of succession murder. Um, yeah, yeah, fake looking hands. Yeah, yeah, and don't put it past them to try to fake Charlie Kirk's death. Don't put it past them to try to do that shit too. That said though, the thing that I have to warn you about when it comes to thinking about them having faked his death is that I saw all the blood come out of his neck. Okay? I saw the blood pouring out of his neck. He ain't make it. But his hands is fucking weird, right? Yeah. Okay. Just so we're all on the same tip. Tech support manager. Yeah, but here's the thing that I did see today, Gabby, that throws that part. Gabby, I want to address this comment. Someone showed the scene area, no blood. There's also a video I watched of two people stomping all over that crime scene and completely obliterating that crime scene in terms of the quality of evidence that could come out of it. So I'm on your team. We're on the same team. But I watched a video of two people in plain clothes absolutely walk all over that crime scene like it was nothing. And for me, it's like I saw him bleed out with my own eyeballs. And I also watched people tromp all over that crime scene and completely obliterate the quality of evidence. So it's like I gotta choose, right? Am I gonna continue to believe the law enforcement that are gonna fucking lie and manipulate the situation and walked and tromped all over that crime scene? Or am I gonna believe the evidence in my eyeballs? And my eyeballs saw him bleed the fuck out. I seen his wife making content on his casket, which is fucking disgusting. Okay? But most importantly, what I saw Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk's wife not give a fuck about him at all. He was a casualty. This was planned. Okay? Yep. Yep. So not only do they destroy the crime scene, but like this feels like she was part of it. Hmm. Yeah, Fuentes. Like, did you all hear Nick Fuentes denouncing all of this shit? That was scary because it was like he had a hand in this, denouncing this. What are you talking about? She had enough of the gums. Hell yeah. All right, you guys have a great day. See you tomorrow. Lawyers should check if his life insurance and change behind his back. Yeah.